be here. And that's why I want the future asset in return, because if he doesn't want to be here, let's say they make the deal, he doesn't waive his no movement clause, he doesn't play great, he's Matt Duchene 2.0, then let him go in free agency, but you got your future first round pick as part of the deal. So I look at the first rounder and I say, now I'm protected in case I don't re-sign Marner, my choice or his choice, and I don't lose Saros for nothing. I'm also, with this trade, because you'll say, well, why, Toronto, what does Toronto get at? Why would Toronto do this? I am solving Toronto's three biggest problems with this trade. Number one, I'm solving their goalie problem. You get UC Saros. Number two, I'm solving their cap problem. The difference between Saros is $5 million and Marner's, Ian, is it 10.9 or 11.9?
10.9.
10.9. I am saving you $6 million on the cap. That is one decent player, maybe two so-so players. They need that money. So I'm solving your goalie problem, I'm solving your cap problem, and I'm solving your Marner problem, because it is a problem in Toronto. Now, as far as Tomasino's concerned, why would Toronto want Philip Tomasino? I mean, so I think Philip Tomasino is what he is. I think he can play in the NHL. I just don't think he'll be a difference maker in the NHL by any stretch of the imagination. But because he's got a former first-round pick pedigree and he's ready right now for the NHL, it makes the trade look more fair for Toronto. And so even though I would consider him a throw-in, and they would probably consider him a throw-in, it's like, hey, yes, we traded Mitch Marner, and yes, we gave up a future first-round pick, but we got our goaltender, and we got Philip Tomasino, who is a ready-to-play right now 23-year-old young forward who's a former first-round pick, and he's only getting better. And the media in Toronto probably eats that up. They're probably, the way that David Poile tried to push Cody Glass when it was truly just a dump. They just dumped Ryan Ellis. They didn't Cody Glass. But what happened was the Predators made the trade, and instead of having a press conference saying, well, Ryan Ellis is old and hurt, and he's got a contract for another 5 years, so we're getting out from it now, they were like, we acquired Cody Glass, and Cody Glass was a former top 5 pick, and Cody Glass sucks. I mean, even now, Burnett's like, yeah, good luck to him. Tomasino, I kind of feel like the same way. But by including Tomasino in this trade, Toronto can say, yes, we lost Marner. Yes, we gave up the pick. But not only did we get Saros in net and we've solved our goaltending problem, but we also got a young forward, and we think we can get more out of him than Nashville was getting out of him.
You think they'll be happy with just Tomasino?
Probably not. But again, who else is solving all three problems for you? I saw Bleacher Report had a story that was like the top 4 destinations for Mitch Marner. And one was a deal with Chicago. And it was for a first-round pick, their top prospect, and some 19-year-old on their team that played 79 games this year. And I'm like, that's great, but does that solve your goaltending problem? Nope. Does New Jersey, they don't have a goaltender. Does it solve your goaltending problem? Deal with him. So in order to do this, like, everybody's got to give in a little bit. And if not, I'm not doing the deal, because I don't think Marner is a slam dunk. So in the case of Toronto, they probably have to lower their asking price. Toronto probably wants Saros and more for Marner. Well, no. I'm not solving your Marner problem, your goalie problem, and your cap problem and giving you more. Because that's what I'm doing. Without giving you any picks, without giving you any prospects, I'm solving 3 problems for you. You don't think it's a fair trade? Fine. Go find a goalie somewhere else. Good luck. So even though it's a bad deal for Toronto on the surface, because of what it does for their team, I think they would strongly consider it. Then there's the Marner thing. Mitch Marner would have to waive his no movement clause, but I'm not going to sign him to an extension. Well, the agent will say, well, then you're not going to get Mitch Marner. We're not going to waive the no movement clause. Okay? Enjoy going back to Toronto, where they were about to solve their goalie problem. They already hate you there. Congratulations. Like, good luck. Good luck. They were about to solve their goalie problem, and they were about to get rid of you, and now you've put your no movement clause to the test, so I guess you'll be sticking around there. Boy, that'll be fun. You know they're not going to extend you. So he may not like it, but what are you going to do, stay in Toronto?
I do wonder if Toronto would offer him an extension after his contract is over.
No. Not after what they basically came out and said, we're breaking up the core four.
I mean, it sounds like they could get kind of desperate this offseason, Toronto.
So that's the other part of this, which is I do think there's a chance that the change of scenery for Marner could elevate his play.
Mm-hmm.
I covered Tyler Seguin when he was with the Bruins. He was about 23 years old, and he was a fabulous player, incredibly talented, high draft choice, big-time goal scorer, cup winner, but he needed to grow up. And I think going to the Dallas Stars, which is, in terms of hockey fandom, the opposite of Boston, I think that was good for him. No offense, we ain't Toronto. And it is toxic between the city of Toronto. I'm not talking about the Maple Leafs. The city of Toronto and Marner, it is toxic. You know, it is like Matt Duchene and Colorado, where I was listening to the Stars radio broadcast driving all the way back from Sean Reese's house on Saturday night. They live all the way out in God knows where. And I was driving back, and as I was driving back, I was listening to the Stars radio broadcast, and they were talking about how Matt Duchene gets booed just mercifully every time he gets the puck at Ball Arena. And apparently he grew up an Avalanche fan and everything else. Like, it is that level of toxic with Mitch Marner. Well, again, everybody gets mad at me when I talk about myself, but Ian, I would say when it comes to the biggest a-hole in town in terms of hockey, it'd have to be me, right?
Maybe.
Like, if you were a hockey player and you were going to the Predators and it was like, hey, man, the one guy you got to watch out, it would be me. Like, I'm the one guy that goes crazy about this kind of stuff. And I can promise you that I am not the Toronto media. As far as the everyday dissecting everything, now I have high expectations for Mitch Marner, but I'm not the Toronto media.
So you'd be cool with just a 1-year deal for him, huh? Just bring him for
prove
next
it to me.
season?
I'm not locking myself in for 8 years of bullcrap. I'm not doing that.
Let him play it out and see if he wants to stay?
And that's why I get the first-round pick in 2026, so that way it's not just, okay, it didn't work out with Marner and I lost Saros for nothing. No, it is so that I have a future asset that when we go to pick, it's like, hey, at least we got that first-rounder as part of the Saros deal. So those are my terms. And if they say no, he says no, then it's off. But what I'm not doing is I'm not bending over in order to get Mitch Marner. I'm not doing that. 615-737-1025, your phone's on that. Plus, what Toronto says, the Toronto paper says, would be a fair deal. I was actually surprised by this. We'll hit that next. Hey, Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House, conveniently located at Opry Mills Mall. Enjoy beer, food, music, and fun at Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, where it's Oktoberfest every day. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last.
how would that be floated around in Toronto? Would people in a talk show in Toronto, in our bizarro world, would they be hopping at the chance to say, I'll take Saros for $5 million and trade you Marner?
Kevin McGran, who is the Maple Leafs reporter for the Toronto Star, which is one of the major newspapers in Toronto, had a story the other day looking at potential landing spots for Marner, and he mentioned Saros. And
it's been kicked around by a lot of people, right?
Right. He said the Leafs would want more in return than just Saros. Maybe center Colton Sissons or defenseman Dante Fabro would need to be included. The Predators also have 9 picks in the first 5 rounds this year and 5 in the first 3 next year if Brad Treliving, their general manager, is looking for a way to restock the prospect pool.
Okay, now this I want everybody to go into their context of their fantasy football league or fantasy baseball, whatever you play, when you get into trade talks with your buddy. Because that is a very Toronto-based perspective there. Mm-hmm. Oh, I want more than just Saros. Just Saros, one of the best goalies in the league for the last 4 years, at $5 million. If I'm looking at it from Nashville's perspective, I want more than Marner. Give me Joseph Woll with Marner.
That was Willie and Vingan today. My favorite part of that cut is this morning, Vingan and I sent Vingan my proposed trade, in which I wanted the 2025 first rounder Toronto didn't have. And Adam was like, they don't have a 2025 first rounder. I was like, darn. But I sent Adam the trade, and Adam's like, I don't know, Marner's too much. And he sent me that nugget from the Toronto Star about, hey, if the Predators are going to make this move, like the Leafs would want more. They'd want Colton Sissons or Dante Fabro maybe in the deal, according to the Toronto Star. And I texted Adam. I said, F it, they can have them both. Sissons? I mean, I'm sorry. Like, Sissons is a good Predator. He's a good man. But he did hit the post. And I still have not forgiven him for that. So go take it. You can have Colton Sissons. Dante Fabro, take him. Dante Fabro has not gotten 1 ounce better since he showed up from BU. He is at best a third pair defense. Take him. Go have him. Here's what I'm not doing. I'm not giving up picks. I am not giving up picks in this draft or in this trade. And here's why. Because I don't have to. Somebody said to me on Twitter, well, Marner is more valuable than Saros. Marner is more valuable than Saros to the league. Marner is not more valuable than Saros, in my opinion, to the Leafs. There are real question marks about whether or not Marner's teammates want him back on that team. It is toxic between him and the city of Toronto, where he grew up rooting for the Leafs because he has not performed in the playoffs. Again, Matt Duchene, Kyle Turris, they want him to pay what he owes. And again, their biggest weakness when they get into playoffs, they got Austin Matthews. They have Nylander. It's like our problem is we're throwing Samsonov out there in net. He stinks. I'm solving that problem for you. I'm not giving you a first-round pick in next year's draft, even though I've got 2. I'm not giving you any second-round picks in this year's draft, even though I've got 3. I'm not doing it. You want Fabro? Take him. You want Sissons? He's yours. The picks? No. I am solving your biggest problems, all 3 of them. You don't get extra. Because there's a chance that Marner might be good. No. You don't get extra. It doesn't work like that. Somebody texted into the text line and said Tomasino is from the greater Toronto area. Couldn't give 2 poops. I just know this. I listened to Andrew Burnett, and Andrew Burnett is a straight shooter. He is not arrogant, the cross the arms. I don't have to tell you whatever he's not that. He's also not a BSer like his predecessor, John Hines, who would go up to the podium after the Predators allowed, was it 7 goals in that one period of St. Louis, or was it 5 goals in a period for a total of 7 in that game?
It was more than 7, I think. I don't know. Maybe it was 5.
I think it was 7 in a period, 9 for the game.
Yeah.
And John Hines got up there and was like, well, if we didn't give up those 7 goals in the second period, we would have won. Okay. So Andrew Burnett's not that kind of guy. Although Andrew Burnett did do the whole I thought we should have won the series, and I didn't like that. The way he talked about Tomasino was basically like, look, man, I'm rooting for him, but I'm betting against him. Well, if that's the case, go ahead and move on. Picks? No. You're not getting picks. That's not happening. Vingan was like, I think that if I was Toronto, I'd want Wood or Mullendijk in it. Hell no. I'm not interested in that. Again, by taking Marner, I'm doing you a favor. Why would I give you picks in return? Now, knowing that I've said all this, watch the Predators do the idea of trading for Marner, I'm open to. I'm not all in on. I recognize the talent, but there are issues. So it's like DeAndre Hopkins. People, you were against DeAndre Hopkins, Jared. I wasn't against DeAndre Hopkins when all it cost was money and a fake cap. But when it was, should we trade a second-round pick for DeAndre Hopkins? No. That I'm not interested in. So when it comes to Marner, I'm interested in Marner. When it comes to trading Matthew Wood or Tanner Mullendijk or Joakim Kimmel or future first-rounders and extending him, and again, he's making $10.9 million a year now, I'm not interested in that. Him on my terms, I'll do. Him on his terms, him on their terms, no, not going to happen. Coming up next, Brian Callahan sat down with the Athletic podcast. Boy, did he have some Titans porn come out of his mouth. You'll love it. We'll get to that next here on Stillman and Company on Fireball Hot Take Friday. Let's tell you about Twice Daily. Twice Daily has your cravings, and you can save on every single visit. Stop in and get rewarded. All you need to do is join the Twice Daily Rewards program to unlock special discount savings, enter their sweepstakes, and so much more. Try the new wraps at Twice Daily, the Italian, the ham and cheddar, the turkey and Swiss, and of course the Nashville hot chicken. They're made to order with your favorite toppings, and when you download the Twice Daily app, you can order ahead. Or at Twice Daily, it's snack time all the time, and they've got favorites like chicken fingers, tater rounds, new pretzels, and more. Twice Daily. What are you craving? Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. So The Athletic had a sit down with Titans coach Brian Callahan on the Athletic Football Show podcast. And, of course, anytime you talk to the Titans coach, there's always going to be talks about Joe Burrow in Cincinnati and, of course, your quarterback, Will Levis. Now, let me say this. Everybody wants to know if Will Levis is going to be a franchise quarterback or not. And at the same time, nobody knows whether or not Will Levis is going to be a franchise quarterback. The thing about all of these guys that are high picks, that have the body type that Levis has, that have the arm that Levis has, whether it's Richardson or Drake May or J.J. McCarthy, or the thing about all these guys is they all have talent. They all are gifted. They all have talent. When Josh Allen worked out at the Combine, Floyd said to me that it reminded him of watching Ryan Leaf's workout. And you would hear that and say, oh, no, well, Ryan Leaf was one of the worst busts of all time. And yeah, because he partied too much. He wasn't mature enough. He didn't have a good coaching staff around him. I've talked to Ryan Leaf about this. But he's talking about, again, the unmolded clay. And if Josh Allen isn't about the right stuff, and if Josh Allen doesn't have Brian Dable as his coordinator, and if the Bills don't trade for Stephon Diggs, does Allen develop the way that he did? I don't know. So the question has to be, can Levis be a franchise quarterback? And most of the league thought no, including you, who drafted a guard before you drafted your franchise quarterback, potentially. But Brian Callahan sat down with the Athletic Football Show, and I found it fascinating. So this was after his intro press conference. This is the first cut. This is where Brian Callahan entered on Will Levis. This was on our show. We sat down with him the day after he got hired. Ian, I'm flipping the cuts here, but this is when Brian Callahan got introduced, and he sat down with me the next day. Here's where he said he was on Will Levis. How much did you get a sense that maybe that reputation's a little overblown?
That's what I felt. I felt like there was it kind of got exacerbated with some of the stories from the draft. The mayonnaise and the banana thing and like just kind of stuff that's silly and doesn't really matter.
Sure.
And I think that's contributed to the perception. I'm the same way. Nobody that I've really talked to has said anything negative about him. And really everything that I've heard at his time here so far is that he loves football. He loves preparing. He's made of the right stuff. And so that part makes me excited. And I haven't sat down with him long enough to form that opinion myself. But I think the best thing that I have going and he has going with me is that I don't have any preconceived notions, and him and I get a chance to start from the beginning and build a relationship, and so he can be whoever he wants to be in that regard, and I'm going to let him. So hopefully some of those things are the silly stuff is silly stuff, and he is more about what everyone says he's about, and that's what it seems like.
I hear good things. I mean, I hope it's true. We'll see. I mean, hey, I got no preconceived notions. We'll sit down. Well, now he's had Will Levis for a couple of months. Here's what he said on the Athletic Football Show.
I mean, we feel like we have added really high-end pieces at positions that we needed it. And we have a team that I think is going to be competitive. And a lot of that has to do with what I saw from Will, what the organization saw from Will in his time as a starter. And the things that you see in Will are the things that you want to see in your quarterback. He's tough. He plays with a ton of passion. It's important to him. He wants to be good. And then you add in the physical part of it, which is he's athletic, he's strong, he can throw it as good as anybody. And you saw the flashes of his ability, all the same things that when he was coming out that got highlighted in the draft as a potential top pick. And for whatever reason, thank God they did. He slides and he's here in Tennessee with me. And I love everything he's about. And I think he's got real talent and he has a real ability to be a high-level quarterback in the NFL. And those things are the things that I'm excited about.
Think about it. It went from, hey, man, there's no preconceived notions. You know, I think the mayonnaise in the coffee was silly. I'm not worried about that. But to, I think he's got the passion. I think he's got the desire to win. I think he's made of the right stuff. I think he's got the great talent. I just love being around him. I love coaching him. He said last week at his press conference, he's done a great job of taking things from the classroom and executing it on the field. I have no idea how genuine Brian Callahan is when he says all those things about Will Levis. But he didn't walk in saying them at the first press conference. If Brian Callahan really wanted to get everybody on the Will Levis train. Again, it's not like he thought there was a chance that they were going to be in the market for Kirk Cousins. It's not like he thought they were going to draft Michael Penix. It's not like he thought Malik Willis was going to be the starting quarterback. So he knew when he took this job, Will Levis was going to be his quarterback for at least this year. But if this was all about public perception, if this was all about, hey, Will's my guy, and I want everybody to know it. I may not really believe it, but I want everybody to know it. Then he would have gotten up there at the first press conference and said everything he said right there. But he didn't. Again, he came on our show and was like, hey, man, he's starting at ground zero with me. I'm starting at ground zero with him. I'm hoping for the best. I see a lot of things, that I hear a lot of good things. We'll see. Now he's like, I love his passion. I love what he's about. I love his talent. I love his that. I love his that. I think he actually looks at Will Levis and thinks, we can do something about this. We can mold this clay. Again, the difference between all of these guys that are picked high in the draft is what's in the heart and what's in the head. You get about 15 minutes to get to know these guys, maybe a top 30 visit where you're with them for half of a day. It's like going on 2 dates and then deciding if you want to get married. That's not a very good idea, but it is the reality of how the NFL works. So the only way that you really know if you've got something or you don't have something is when you're around it every day. And I know Mike Mularkey said good things about Mariota, and deep down inside, I don't think that staff thought that they could have won big with Mariota. But this seems a little different. This seems like Brian Callahan is basically telling you, hey, man, I know I didn't draft them, but this is my guy. And it's not about belief. Like, the thing about Brian Callahan's belief in Will Levis is it's not, oh, Brian Callahan believes, so now I'll get behind it. I'll believe in Levis because I still am right there down the middle on Levis. What Brian Callahan doesn't change my opinion of Levis, but it does tell me about his. And I think Brian Callahan knows what to look for in a quarterback. That's why I wanted the guru coach. Again, the next guy. The Shanahan, the McVay, the trees, the tight pants, the latte, the giant play sheet. That's what I wanted because those guys know what they're looking for in a quarterback. Those guys know what it takes to be able to play quarterback, and those guys know how to develop a quarterback. Brian Callahan was never going to crush his starter. He was never going to come out and say, yeah, Levis is a weirdo, and I know he can throw it all over the yard, but I think he does too much dumb crap, and he's never going to learn, and he's hard-headed, and he's not going to say that. But you would have heard a pointed comment about, well, we're really working hard on making sure that he's able to take what we're trying to coach him out to the grass. And it's a process, and we'll work on it every day, but that's what we're... He's not saying that. He's saying he's doing it. Again, this is why I wanted the guru coach. Because the guru coach knows what it takes to win at quarterback. Those guys know. Again, everybody thought Jared Goff was a bust. Sean McVay gets there. Pro Bowl. Jordan Love, everybody thought he sucked. Matt LaFleur, guru coach. I don't even like Matt LaFleur. Guru coach. All of a sudden, Jordan Love, he's the man. Now it's like, oh, now I know why they traded Aaron Rodgers for this guy. It sounds like Brian Callahan, who is a guru coach, it sounds like he thinks they're cooking with gas on Will Levis. even though he didn't pick him. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. And here's exactly why this gets me excited coming from Brian Callahan. Because unlike Mike Vrabel, who never played quarterback, never coached the offensive side of the ball, and would openly say, when asked about kicking, oh, well, I never played kicker or coached kicker, so I don't know. How would he know about quarterback? And it didn't feel like Mike Vrabel did know anything about developing a quarterback. This guy's a guru. This guy knows what he's looking for. 615-737-1025. So I asked Coach Charlie Weiss last week. I know we've played the cut a handful of times, but I asked Charlie Weiss, so how do you take these young quarterbacks? Because there's going to be a third of the league that's a first or second year quarterback. What do you do? This is the guy that, again, was Tom Brady's offensive coordinator when they went to him over Drew Bledsoe. And he said, you got to do what they do best, not what you want them to do. Brian Callahan, with that in my head all week, had an answer today on the Athletic Football Show that made me think he's listening to Coach Weiss. Even if he's not actually listening to Coach Weiss, he's listening to Coach Weiss. We'll do that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Let's talk Window Nation. I love Window Nation. They are an honest company. They've been out to my home, and they just did a fabulous job of keeping it real with me about what I needed, and they'll do the exact same for you. And right now is the time you want to call Window Nation because it's Window Nation's semi-annual sale. That's a big deal. Right now, you get 50% off all windows with no interest for 5 years. Literally, no interest for 5 years. And if you schedule the free, no obligation in-home consult, they will give you bonus savings. If your windows leak, get foggy or hot, and again, it's about to get hot season, you'll be paying very, very high electricity bills. You don't want that. And so with Window Nation semi-annual sale, you can replace the windows and save a big deal too. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. Again, right now, semi-annual sales, 50% off all windows, no interest for 5 years. That's 866-90Nation, windownation.com. What would your advice for those teams and those coaches be that are trying to bring these young quarterbacks along?
Make sure you do what they do well, not what you want them to do. In other words, you don't make them fit into your offense. You build the offense around what they do well and do a lot of that. So when they come in there, you find out what they're best at, and then do a whole hell of a lot of that. And as time goes on, you do more, and you do more, and you do more. Okay, but find out, first of all, what they're good at. And instead, too many coaches are hard-headed. They bring a guy in, and they think that you have a guy that at the quarterback position, they want to teach him the whole playbook. The hell with that. Figure out what they're good at, and just do that more. I mean, what's wrong with repeating good stuff? Why do you have to have 9 million different things? Find out what they do well and do a lot of that, and then expand from there. And that is the golden rule to success for any young quarterback.
There you go. That was Charlie Weiss on SiriusXM This Weekend with me saying, just figure out what they do well. And we played this cut earlier in the week, and we were talking about, okay, what does Levis do well? What can Brian Callahan call so that Levis can do it over and over and over again, like Coach Weiss said? And I was listening again to Brian Callahan, very extensive sit-down with the Athletics Football Podcast, and I was listening to this sit-down, and he was asked a question kind of about, making this offense about the Titans, and I heard it, and I said, oh, my God, this guy's doing what Coach Weiss says you have to do. Play the cut.
As you try to figure out what the Titans' offense is, where does that process start?
Yeah, that's a good question because ultimately all the good offenses in football are tailored to what their people do well. And that's what the exciting part for me is right now that we're on the field is now I'm getting to learn what these guys, what routes do they run well? What ones are they not quite as good at? What routes does Will have a real comfort in? And what routes do we maybe not throw as much of? And that's the process that we go through between now and really all through the season. It's just sort of an ongoing evolution of finding things that guys do well, that he does well, that we can mix and match and make a system out of.
Oh my God. Oh my God. He's doing it. Again, this is the playbook that we ran with Joe Burrow, and this is the playbook that we want you to run because we want you to be Joe Burrow. No. It's right now, I got to figure out what kind of routes do our receivers run well. Like I'm going to tell you, it's probably not a good idea to ask Traylon Burks to run the full route tree from the slot. Why? Because he can't do it. So don't ask him. But you're going to have to figure that out. Levis has a cannon. He's great at throwing the ball down the field, driving the ball along the sideline. Let him do that. So what he's doing is, again, it's still early in the offseason. He's looking at Levis basically saying, all right, we want you, this is our play called 98 zip queen shoot double wide X trailer B wide, whatever. Let's see you run it. And then he's evaluating, saying, well, Will, that timing route, he's got to get that ball out at that exact, and he's the times that. Don't call it. But to Charlie Weiss's point, too many of these coaches are morons, like Adam Gase. Too many of these, Ken Wisenhunt, too many of these guys sit there and say, because everybody gets a job being a coordinator. Everybody has, very rarely is there a guy who's a quarterback's coach or an offensive line coach or something like that gets a job. Normally it's a coordinator. So what a lot of these guys do is they go and they get that head coaching job, and we never know what the reason that the guy got the job was. It could be that he's working with a great head coach and that he doesn't really do anything. It could be that he's got a great player. Again, let's go back to Adam Gase. Guy's a total bozo. But when he was the offensive coordinator for Peyton Manning, he looked like a genius. So that got him a job. Well, what happens is a lot of these guys come in there and they're like, all right, I'm going going to coach you the same way I coach Tom Brady, and you're going to become Tom Brady because I'm so good. There was a story I read months ago that when Josh McDaniels was the head coach of the Broncos and he ran Jay Cutler out as he was trying to trade for Matt Castle, didn't get him, and was stuck with Kyle Orton, that he got up in front of the team and said, it's okay, guys. I can turn any high school quarterback into an all-pro. Moron. And that's why that guy can't coach. But what happens is you get a guy who knows what they're doing, and he's like, all right, here are the players that I have. Let's make the best with the players that I have. And the number one thing you have to figure out is what you can do and what you can't do. You know, it's funny because I was talking, I don't even know if I've talked about this on the air before, but I was talking to Chase yesterday about our station. And we had a staff meeting like 4 months ago, 5 months ago. I can't even remember how long ago it was. In fact, I think, Ian, you were the only person who wasn't there. I could be wrong about that.
Possible, yeah.
But we had an entire group staff meeting. You know, don't want to let you guys in on a secret, but Chase and Joe taped their show, and for about an hour and a half, it was Robbie, Joe, Chase, Joe, Caroline, Willie, Derek, me, and so on and so forth. And it was all of us. And we had a great time in there. But one of the things that I made incredibly clear to everybody, and I think that everybody, you know, also echoed similar sentiments, was, hey, you know, we bash each other for each other's takes, but it's not personal. It's just sports. So when I say like, oh, that was a stupid comment by Caroline, like, I'm not saying, Caroline, you're stupid. So when Derek goes crazy like he did earlier this week about Joe saying J.C. Latham looked like a guard or me saying that J.C. Latham looks like a right tackle, I know Derek is not saying Jared is crazy and stupid, and I know that he's not saying those things. He's saying that take is, and I disagree with him. But that's it. And so we've got this, what I call take shaming culture at our station. And anytime you use the word shaming, it sounds bad, but it's really not. It's like Joe says something stupid, we're all going to rip Joe's ass for it. And everybody's going to enjoy it, and Joe can handle it. There are so many people that can't handle that. That cannot handle being told that their opinion is wrong or their opinion is stupid or and it causes serious issues at stations. We don't have to worry about that. But that's what we do well. If I were to go to another station, say I were to go to another city, I'd have to learn how all of those hosts, you know, what are they good at? What are they bad at? Like, how do they feel? And if they don't like being told, hey, man, that was a really stupid take, then I've got to change. I can't call the same plays. And you would be shocked to see how football is a lot like every other job. How many people have you worked with? Hire somebody from somewhere else that goes, well, when I was in Kentucky, what we were doing was, when I worked at Flexco, what we did was, it happens far too often. I went out of my way when I got here to not spend a lot of time saying, hey, what I did in Louisville was what we did in Louisville. Now, when we're having discussions and it's applicable for something that, 10 years ago we did in Louisville, I'll say, you know what? When we were in Louisville, what we did was we were in this situation and we did that. What we can do here is but again, that's analyzing the strengths overall. Too many coaches, to Charlie Weiss's point, too many coaches look at these young quarterbacks and they're Josh McDaniels and they think I can coach anybody into Tom Brady. The good coaches say, okay, here's the difference between Steve Young and Joe Montana, and I've got to coach Steve differently than I coach Joe because even though they're both really good quarterbacks, they're both Hall of Fame caliber, they're not the same guy. Jeff Fisher couldn't do that. That's why it didn't work with Vince Young. Because he hired Norm Chow, Matt Leinert's coach, and they said, we're going to run this offense, and Vince, you're going to learn how to do it. They didn't put an offense in like the Ravens have put in around Lamar Jackson that works so that guy is the forefront of everything that they do. They didn't do that at all. And that's why I think, again, Vince was Rookie of the Year, went to the Pro Bowl, led the league in fourth quarter comebacks, game-winning drives. And then when the league adapted, he couldn't do what they asked him to do because that wasn't his game. Brian Callahan, it sounds like he gets it. And boy, that's exciting. 615-737-1025. We're to your phones next. 615-737-1025. Let's talk Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I love Hiller. They are the best. They take great care of my home. They can do the exact same for you. Have you ever had a contractor come to your home and it take forever? Yes. You feel like you've wasted your entire day. Well, that doesn't happen when you call Hiller. You do not have to camp out all day waiting. Be a happy camper this month with 0% interest financing for 24 months on select HVAC systems, generators, and tankless water heaters. Or take advantage of Hiller's $99 drain cleaning special. Take care of your home systems before the peak summer temperatures hit. Visit happyhiller.com today for details. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
Knowing how much he's worked with Burrow, with Peyton Manning, Stafford, those guys, like, does that come up in conversation, or even are you watching some of the things that he did with those guys with him?
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, all the tape we watch from the installs to even just the individual drills, it's Joe, it's Matt, it's Peyton, and it's cool to see those guys and know that they've been in a system at least similar to this or very similar to this and been able to have great success. So, it's it's big shoes to fill, but I want to be that next guy and get to that level. But yeah, I don't want to be them. I want to be me, but I want to, perform and exceed the levels that they performed at.
I think it'd be really hard for Will Levis to exceed the levels that Peyton Manning played at, but if he does, more power to him. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. One texter says, this guy Callahan sounds like he's spewing the same old new coach BS that everyone says to please everyone and not offend the sensitive quarterback. Yeah, Levis has grit, moxie, and a winning smile, and he'll be an interception machine. How can you call him a guru head coach when he has never been a head coach? Well, because that's the system. The system is, for the gurus, it's almost like a, kind of like a lineage. It's okay. You are the passing game specialist for Kyle Shanahan. And then the offensive coordinator for Kyle Shanahan, who's never called plays before, gets hired to be head coach. Now, you get bumped up to offensive coordinator, quarterback's coach, or whatever it is that's under Shanahan, and then you do that for a couple years. And then you go be head coach somewhere else. Or you do what Bobby Slowick does, and you go call plays for the Texans. But eventually, you'll be hired to be a head coach. That's how Sean McVay got his job. That's how Matt LaFleur got his job. That's how Zach Taylor got his job. That's how Kevin O'Connell got his job. That's how Mike McDaniel got his job. All these guys are the gurus. And Brian Callahan, because he comes from Zach Taylor, who comes from Sean McVay, is a guru. Now, the idea that Callahan is spewing the same BS as everybody else, I don't buy that. See, to me, here's what I view as BS. To me, complimenting Will Levis is different when you explain why you're like how it is that you feel good about him. Like when I hear Chad Brinker do that sit-down podcast and he talks about Ran over and over and over again, about how great Ran is over and over, give me some tell me why. Like, tell me why. Other than he's great with relationships. Give me an example. Right? Like, tell me, where Rand's a really good GM is that we had an issue with two players and it was going to be something where one of the players wanted to get traded and Rand did this, but they won't do it. So when you don't give me any concrete examples, you just spew out bullcrap like, oh, yeah, I went to business school, and this one guy, he has an AI model for determining cancer in patients. And I thought, let's take that AI model and make it about football so that we can use this to acquire players. And everyone says, genius. I'm like, well, give me a player give me an example. Brian Callahan does that. That's the difference. When he says, like, hey, we're taking this stuff from the field and we're putting it in here, he's telling me that, yeah, I can install something, Levis can see it on the field and he can go do it. The difference is just sunshine pumping, and I think there's a difference between the two. And for some reason, I expect so many of you guys to understand the difference between sunshine pumping and saying, hey, here's what I'm seeing. One of the things, Chuck texts in and says, if the Titans liked Will Levis so much, why didn't they take him in the first round? Which I agree with is a very, very applicable question, which is why I'm not interested in giving Chad Brinker and Rand Carthon credit for that pick when it's been reported that that was an ownership-driven pick. And again, I don't think it's very smart to take a guy that you think is going to be your franchise quarterback after you take a freaking guard. Brian Callahan didn't take him. And if you listen to that cut, Callahan addresses it in the cut that we played. Ian, let's play that cut again. The one about the one from Callahan about Levis being what you want in a quarterback. Listen to this when he addresses the hey, he slid in the draft. Thank God.
I mean, we feel like we have added really high-end pieces at positions that we needed it. And we have a team that I think is going to be competitive. And a lot of that has to do with what I saw from Will, what the organization saw from Will, in his time as a starter. And the things that you see in Will are the things that you want to see in your quarterback. He's tough. He plays with a ton of passion. It's important to him. He wants to be good. And then you add in the physical part of it, which is he's athletic. He's strong. He can throw it as good as anybody. And you saw the flashes of his ability. All the same things that when he was coming out that got highlighted in the draft as a potential top pick. And for whatever reason, thank God they did. He slides and he's here in Tennessee with me. And I love everything he's about. And I think he's got real talent and he has a real ability to be a high-level quarterback in the NFL. And those things are the things that I'm excited about.
For whatever reason, he felt, thank God, because he's here with me. He's telling you, like, I thank God it happened. I mean, we got lucky on that one. We screwed the pooch there and got lucky. Now, we had this grand plan where we took him in the second round and that cut. Callahan is telling you, he's telling you three things. He has the head, he has the heart, he has the talent. He's not telling you he's going to be a franchise guy. He did not say he'll be Peyton Manning. He did not say he'll be a franchise quarterback. He said he has what you want, i.e., he is the moldable clay for there to be a franchise quarterback. And to me, that's not BSing me at all. That's the difference between like, oh, yeah, no, that's just coach speak. Coach speak would be like saying, well, we got a lot of players that we're really excited about on our team, and Will's one of them, and, all the things Vrabel used to say. That's coach speak. What he's doing there is he's telling you, like, man, I really like this quarterback. I think there's something there. Dylan says, it reminds me of how the past few seasons the Titans have been trying to take 5-step dropbacks and have the receivers running super deep or have them run these intricate routes that they can't do because they don't have the playmakers, and they definitely didn't have the offensive line that could block well enough for a 5-step drop. Callahan sounds like he really wants to play towards the strength of his team and really build towards that and not force them to be a certain way. Now, I'm going to say that I don't feel like, Todd Downing or Tim Kelly, I don't think they held the offense back. I don't think they were very good. I thought Downing was awful. So maybe they held him back a little bit, but I don't mean like, it wasn't like Todd Downing was like, my system is going to be what works, and I just don't think that he had a good feel for calling plays during the game. Again, you guys get caught up in system this and system that. And I think it's about not having the horses and not being able to run a system that does work successfully, that Arthur Smith ran successfully. Now, I know Tim Kelly went back to their Earhart-Perkins offense, and I do think that that's kind of antiquated in today's era of the NFL. But I don't think it was the system as much as it was the fact that they did not develop players well, maybe didn't put guys in position to be successful well, and also didn't have the horses. And again, with Downing, I just thought he didn't have a feel for the game.
It'll be interesting to see how Callahan does with actual calling of the plays,
I think he's going to have a feel for the game.
Yeah, it'll take a little bit of an adjustment, but it'll be interesting to watch.
He's a guru. Downing's not a guru. Kelly's not a guru. Those guys don't come from Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. This guy does. There's a big difference. Oh, who was the backup quarterback for for Troy Aikman, who was the offensive coordinator that got fired?
Garrett?
No, he was the offensive coordinator for the Raiders, and he got fired so that they could promote Todd Downing. Whoever that is, that's where Downing comes from. I mean, it's not one of the gurus. Again, we want the gurus. 615-737-1025. One of the teams that is on the Titans' schedule early had a terrible season last year, albeit not as bad as you, but a terrible season last year and high expectations this year. But I heard a redonkulous take. We got to get to that next. And it's a perfect take for Fireball Hot Take Friday. I love Fireball whiskey. That's right. Fireball whiskey is the best. It goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. There is no better way to start your weekend, to ignite the night. There's no better way to do it than by doing it with ice cold Fireball cinnamon whiskey. That's Fireball whiskey. Ignite the night. Please be 21 years or older to enjoy. That's Fireball cinnamon whiskey.
This is a tradition unlike any other. I'm going to pick every game on the Jet schedule. I asked Alan Hahn to be here because he, like me, is a diehard Jet fan. Now, we're going to open with a loss on that Monday night game because we're not sending Aaron. I've said it already. We should leave Aaron home. Aaron, D. Wood, you're sleeping over my house on that opening Monday night. I got a room for you, Aaron. Don't do some podcast interviews. People seem to like it when you do that. Whatever you do, don't go to San Francisco because right after that, we're playing a never-ending cavalcade of rookie quarterbacks. Our defense is going to romp through all of these rookie quarterbacks. Then we come home from London. We got an extra day to play the Bills. We're going to split with them. We'll win the home game. Steelers, no one knows who their quarterback's going to be. Patriots are going to struggle. Texans is a very tough game, but it's at home, so I like us there. At the Cardinals, I always like that. Colts, another tough one, but who knows who their quarterback will be. The bye week, then we got Seattle at home. At the Dolphins, let's say we split with them, so we'll lose the road game, beat Jacksonville, beat the Rams at home, lose to the Bills, and then win at home against the Dolphins.
Hell no!
I got 14-3. What do you think?
No, come on, Greeny. That's not true. Okay, so
did I underestimate it? Should it be 15-2?
All right, so Titans, you're going to lose, right?
No, we're not going to lose.
Think about the way that wide receiver room looks now. Calvin Ridley, D-Hop. You also add Tyler Boyd. Okay, I'll give Will Levis.
You think Sauce Gardner is worried about that?
You think that they're worried about the Titans? Mike Greenberg, 14-2 for the Jets. And there was a headline today at ESPN.com. The Jets are going to win the Super Bowl. I didn't read the whole story. They had like 5 different little tabs you could click on to explain why the Jets are going to win the Super Bowl. Look, I don't like playing the Jets in week 2 because I think Aaron's going to blow the entire organization up. You know, maybe Aaron won't be healthy by week 2, which I would be surprised considering he kept faking like he was going to come back all last season. But the Jets are going to suck. And here's why. The first reason, imagine this was like Family Feud. And it's like, the Jets are going to suck, and we've got the top 5 reasons on the board that they're going to suck. Survey said we surveyed 100 people. The number one answer is because they're the Jets. Number 2, the most important position in football is quarterback. Duh. Their quarterback is old. Their quarterback is injured, and their quarterback is a nut job. That's number 2. Number 3, the second most important position in a football team is the owner. Their owner is old, and he's a nut job. Now, he's not injured, but that's because it doesn't matter if the owner's injured, but he's everything else Aaron Rodgers is. The third most important position in a football team is head coach. And their head coach is young, in over his head, inexperienced, has no power, can't manage a coaching staff, and is also, if you read the Diana Rossini Athletic article, a nut job. And fourth, they play in a division with Josh Allen. Josh Allen is not old. He's not injured. And he's not a nut job. And if anything, Josh Allen's team got rid of the nut job in Stephon Diggs. When I look at the Titans' schedule and I think about teams and I'm like, man, that team could be a tough team for us. That could be I don't look at the Jets and think, oh, week 2, that's going to be a tough one. And I don't even think they're going to win that game. But it's not like I look at the schedule and I look at them and think the same thing I think about Detroit. I like Detroit's good. Houston's good. Buffalo's good. And there will be somebody on the schedule who wasn't good last year who will be good this upcoming season, like Cincinnati or somebody like that. Jacksonville, I don't know. But it won't be the Jets. Because no matter how good the Jets' defense is, no matter how many good players they have, Garrett Wilson, good player. Tyron Smith, if he's healthy, and he should be healthy during week 2, good player. Quinnen Williams on defense. Sauce Gardner, good players. No matter how many good players they have, Aaron's going to screw it up. And if Aaron doesn't screw it up, Robert Saleh's going to screw it up. And if Robert Saleh doesn't screw it up, Nathaniel Hackett's going to screw it up. And if all 3 of those guys don't screw it up, Woody Johnson, the owner's going to screw it up. and they're in the New York marketplace. I mean, there's a reason why. Even with Bill Parcells, they didn't really win much. They got to an AFC title game. Good for them. Bill Belichick coached them for one day. He's like, yeah, I ain't working for these losers. There's a reason why the Jets haven't won anything in forever. It's an organizational issue. And when you bring in somebody who's as kooky and as weird and as nutty as Aaron Rodgers, and old and injured, that's not a good thing. So, again, I mean, I'm not like Ryan Clark who's like, they're going to lose to the Titans. Because I don't think they are. I told you guys when the schedule came down, I was like, oh, no, I hate the Jets as an early game in the season. But by December, they'll stink. And this idea, ESPN.com, why the Jets will win the Super Bowl, Greenberg 14-3. Get out of here. No, no, no. Chad Withrow joins us next from Outkick. It is a shorter visit with Chad, which means we go right to the hot seat. And we will do that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Be sure to check out Nashville's best deal. The best deal this week just went away from my laptop. So let me tell you right now that the best deal of the week is for Bavarian Beer House. That's right. Bavarian Beer House is conveniently located inside. Hold on. Bavarian Beer House, conveniently located inside of the Opry Mills Mall. Enjoy beer, food, music, and fun at Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, where it's Oktoberfest every day. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Chad Withrow is with us from Outkick. One segment today. Vandy Baseball comes on right after us. So, Chad, good to talk to you, but let's get right to the hot seat unless you have a thought.
Well, my thought is it is an honor to join the most listened to sports talk show in the afternoon in Nashville. So congratulations to you. It is my honor to join the show and be even a small part of that. It is a great privilege and an honor, and it's always fun to be on the hot seat. So let's get right to it.
Okay. That was very, very nice of you. Number one, the Titans have one primetime game this year. It is a Monday Night Football game at Miami, and it's not even really your traditional primetime game, as it is a split doubleheader with the Seahawks and the Lions on ABC at the same time. Chad, did the Titans get done wrong on prime time?
No, I think you could argue they got done right to get the one game in prime time in a split game. This team isn't that interesting nationally. It's very interesting to us because we're Titans fans and we're here in Nashville. But, I mean, you got a second-round pick in Will Levis that's entering year 2 that people are very split on, and you don't really know what you have. Yes, there is a new coach here. But outside of that, there's not a lot that's that interesting about this Titans team coming off of last season. Now, they can once again put themselves in the national spotlight as they've done before by going out and winning more this year to where you're going to see them in more national windows a year from now. But going into this season, as it's not like they're opening a new stadium. That's not going to happen for a little while. You've got a new coach. But outside of that, I don't find many national storylines with this Titans team that make them interesting. There's a lot of them with the Houston Texans coming out of C.J. Stroud's rookie season and going into year 2 after winning the division a year ago. I just don't see that with the Titans in the AFC South. So, no, I don't think they were done wrong at all.
Okay, number 2. The Titans open at Chicago at Soldier Field for the debut of Caleb Williams. There is a lot of hype surrounding the Bears as a potential playoff team. Are you buying it, and do you think Caleb Williams week 1 is a good matchup or a bad matchup?
I think it's a good matchup for the Titans. I think catching Caleb Williams and the Bears early is probably better. I do think that he's likely to get better as the year goes on. And I also buy that this is a different first-round pick type setup with the Bears returning roster. Well, when you see what they have coming back, and the fact that they weren't a very good team last year, but they weren't awful, and they have that because of their trade and what they got in return to draft first. They got it because the Panthers were so bad I think that he's walking into a situation where there is some talent around them. I really like DJ Moore. So I think that the Bears are going to be pretty good. I don't buy them as a playoff team per se, but I do think that this is unlike most number 1 overall picks at quarterback situations where they're coming into a really bad team and you can expect the team to be pretty bad again in year 1. I don't think that's the case with the Bears, but I actually like the matchup for the Titans catching them on the road in week 1.
Okay, number 3. Brian Callahan was on the Athletic Shows podcast today and was asked about quarterback Will Levis and had this incredible review.
And we have a team that I think is going to be competitive. And a lot of that has to do with what I saw from Will, what the organization saw from Will in his time as a starter. And the things that you see in Will are the things that you want to see in your quarterback. He's tough. He plays with a ton of passion. It's important to him. He wants to be good. And then you add in the physical part of it, which is he's athletic, he's strong, he can throw it as good as anybody. And you saw the flashes of his ability, all the same things that when he was coming out that got highlighted in the draft as a potential top pick. And for whatever reason, thank God they did. He slides and he's here in Tennessee with me. And I love everything he's about. And I think he's got real talent and he has a real ability to be a high-level quarterback in the NFL. And those things are the things that I'm excited about.
Do you believe he said that because he believes it, or do you believe that he said that because he wants everybody to think that he believes in Will Levis?
I believe something different. I believe he said it because he wants to believe that about himself, and he wants Will Levis to believe that Brian Callahan believes in him. I think that's why he said it. That's a message to his quarterback. He is saying publicly, what he wants his quarterback to believe going into this season, that the head coach has his back and the organization has his back, and they're all rooting for him, and they believe in him that he can be the guy that leads this offense. What he truly believes about Will Levis, I think he's saying in that answer, and what he believes about him is what pretty much everyone who's watched Will Levis believes about him. He is tough. He is talented. He is athletic. There are concerns about Will Levis also that Brian Callahan did not get into, but all of those things are true. He has the ability, and he certainly has the physical ability to make it happen as a quarterback in the league. It remains to be seen just how good of a quarterback he is, though, and I think there's a lot of question marks about his time in Kentucky. There were obviously question marks going into the draft with other teams. That's why he slipped to the second round. But I believe that Brian Callahan thinks that he's got the ability to do it, and I know that he wants Will Levis to hear that answer because he wants Will Levis believing in Brian Callahan's belief in him.
Okay, number 4. Scotty Scheffler versus the Louisville Metro Police Department. Who was right, who was wrong?
It looks like the Louisville Police Department was wrong in this one until there's other details that come out. I think going Spider-Man and jumping on a vehicle or latching hold to it seems a little bit extreme for someone that, at least according to his attorney, was getting one direction from someone and then someone else was saying something else, and there was miscommunication, and he tried to pull forward, and the cop went a little bit rogue on the whole situation. Jared, you know the Louisville Police Department better than I do. I don't think you were arrested in your time in school there, but you probably could answer that question better than I. But from the evidence that we have right now and the fact that every other player was able to drive through as they normally do, and for whatever reason Scotty Scheffler wasn't, I would say that these charges will likely be dismissed. And I was shocked when I saw that one of them was a felony charge for assault on an officer because of whatever happened with the car. So I would guess the charges will be dropped, and it's going to be Scotty Scheffler 1, Louisville PD 0.
Yeah, I would say that between that and Breonna Taylor, and not to say that Breonna Taylor and Scotty Scheffler's incident are the same, but there hasn't been any good publicity for the Louisville Metro Police Department over the years. Last one for you. Netflix has acquired 2 Christmas Day games for $75 million apiece, $150 total, playing on a Wednesday. NFL going to Netflix. Like it? Hate it?
I hate it. And here's why. I think the NFL will do whatever makes them the most money. Okay? And I do think that there is a law of diminishing returns of just always taking the most money for something.
Sure.
Because now you've got to have 4 or 5 streamers if you're going to watch every NFL game this year. If you're going to do that, you've got to have all of these services. And I think as they spread the game more and more thin across different networks and streaming services, just because they want to get everyone involved and take all their money, which is understandable for a business, I think when you just make decisions based on the highest dollar value, eventually you're going to hurt the fan. And I think the NFL is starting to do that a little bit. I think it's a smart move for Netflix to get in this game. I also don't really think Netflix needed it. They're the one streaming service that's printing money, that's making a ton of money worldwide, where the others are all losing money. But they're going to spend a fortune to get the NFL because they want to have more of a live element to their programming. We saw that with the roast of Tom Brady. We'll see that with the Jake Paul fight. We'll see that with other live events coming to Netflix. And now we're going to see it with the NFL. So it's good for them. I don't think it's great for the fan, and for that reason, I don't like the move for the NFL.
It worries me that it's going to become like baseball, where baseball's the Roku channel. I'm like, the hell? No. I'm not doing that. That's a step too far for me. Chad Withrow from Outkick, as always with us, abbreviated this week on a Friday. Chad, great stuff. We will talk, I believe, in full next Friday.
Yep. Congrats on all the success. We'll talk to you next week.
Yep, Chad Withrow joining us from Outkick, as he always does on a Friday. That is it for us. Vandy Baseball, their pregame show. They get set to take on Kentucky. Took one on the chin yesterday against Kentucky. That is coming up next. Everybody, be safe this weekend. Have a great weekend. And as Chad said, thank you for listening to Nashville's not only #1 afternoon drive program, but Nashville's #1 program in sports. Stillman and Company. We'll see you all Monday.